Hello everyone, and welcome to the MMO class meeting number 5. This is part 1 if we end up with multiple parts, and we probably are. Now, of course, with us today we've got Zach Barish.
Hi.
Mr. Lee Renault.
Hello.
And myself, Jason Busby, along with all of our wonderful students that are out there joining us live for this class session. Now, the last 24 to 48 hours has been extremely interesting. It has resulted in me getting very, very little sleep. I'm just going to throw that out there ahead of time in case I'm unable to pull myself all the way together and sound completely normal, as I am trying my best to do at the moment. Tonight's class will not be 5 or 6 hours long. My apologies for that for those of you that enjoy the longer classes, but this is a unique case where I will need to be getting some sleep sometime, well, soon, and I did not want to cancel tonight's class. We went through some pretty great pains to make sure that the class did take place.
Tom just totally hurt my feelings.
Uh-oh, how did Tom hurt your feelings?
I'm devastated.
Uh-oh.
He said just cut out the lore.
Oh, he said cut Zach out. Oh.
Stabbed through the heart.
And if you guys could
Right
really
here.
see everything that's... oh, he's making cute faces to you now.
Stabbed through the heart.
He's like, I love you, Zach. I love you, man.
It hurts me here.
Wow, you really look sick to your stomach at the moment. I'm sorry. Oh, just ignore Zach. I do all the time. No, seriously, though, if we could record everything that happens... I came to the conclusion quickly... While at first I did want to do that, but then we'd end up with a 10,000-hour class or longer. I also realized, excuse me.
Morning.
I also realized that most of the students would not like to truly have to wade through all of our discussions when we our initial discussions for concepts, story concepts, etc. And there's been a lot of that. I mean, during pretty much all events throughout the day. Breakfast, hey, how's it going? All right, let's continue that thing with what's going on up on the station. All right, continuing our breakfast. Yeah. Let's continue with continuing lunch. All right, let's continue with this. Zach brings his iPad and his keyboard up to the restaurant, and we go up there to take dinner breaks, and we continue there.
You know, I mean, having to scoot your iPad keyboard out of the way for drippings of cheese dip is an amazing experience.
I will take a picture of that and post it some night. It is pretty funny. But at the same time, if all of this was recorded, I'm sure we'd have some people that would be very frustrated, because there are people, and surely nobody here, but we do have people in the class that still have not quite grasped the concept of, if there's a video that's there that you don't like, use that little slider, the time slider, and zip through it and say, I don't care for this video, and skip it. It's pretty cool how that works. That way, you don't have to get frustrated that, I can't believe I just sat through a crappy video that I had no interest in at all, and I can't believe you guys wasted time on doing that. See, by doing this, you save the time, and you go do cool stuff or play games or whatever.
Go play Rift.
But we have other people that are enjoying, the videos that you may dislike, so just keep that in mind. But I have tried to make sure that we don't record things that are that would be considered a waste to most people. So, like the beginning of our class sessions.
Well, an easy way to look at it is that what you guys get is still pretty distilled.
Yeah.
Really kind of condensed down into the basics.
Well, let's just say this: what we've put out. So I hope that we don't get to a point that that we switch over to the style that we're supposed to be doing, and we disappoint people, because so far, with everything that Nelson's done, with the things that Lee has recorded, we've been pretty detailed. I mean, teaching it like an actual class, giving full, lecture on why we're doing this and that, etc., as opposed to just coding the videos with very light description of what's going on and moving forward. So this will become an interesting concern later when we are having to code a particular section that's got 2,000 lines of code. But anyways, we're going to continue how things are going now. I have been very pleased with what we've got.
The train stuff is killer.
Do what now?
The terrain stuff is just killer.
It's really turning out nicely. There are some things that, as a matter of fact, we could go ahead and start off with a discussion on that. So, Lee, if you want to unmute yourself and jump in.
Yep, all right, dude.
So with the terrain stuff, one of the
Oh, look, Lee got a promotion.
what? Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Oh, good deal. Wait a minute. Where's he at?
No, look on the IRC.
Well, huh?
You're tired tonight. Somebody said Lee is equal to God.
Oh, wow.
See,
Yeah, that's a promotion.
The cool thing is, it's finally somebody else besides myself that thinks so.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna get quiet.
Yeah,
really quiet.
I'm just going to laugh like I always do at Lee. But no, seriously, Lee has been doing a brilliant job, and what I have really appreciated about the way he's tackled this is he's left the code in a very linear and easy to follow manner, which has been absolutely fantastic for teaching, and that's loads of respect for that, Lee, because it does make it a lot easier for people to understand. Now, my question is, because I know things like this make you sigh a bit, we do have some more stuff that needs to be released because the new stuff that we recorded the other night has not gone up yet, as you know, everything that's been going on. But multi-threading is, I know we've got a problem with the editor, but at the same time, I know that's a pretty big deal when it comes to speed and the construction of the patches and playing and hiccups, etc. So, give me your thoughts about when you're wanting to tackle that. I know that makes you cringe because we start to venture over a little bit more into some complexity for those that are new to C#, but remember, we can't worry about that because things are going to get much worse down the line. So, what are you thinking?
Well, the hard part with this whole project is the fact that the way it's been coded has been broken up into segments for easy disposition as far as training goes, which isn't always necessarily making it easy for writing the system all together. So what you guys see in the R&D sessions is usually where I've already been and then backed up and recoded some stuff to make it easier. The multi-threading, as Jason mentioned, is one of those. I had implemented that way in the beginning, but I've backed it out because that gets into a very complex section. The videos that are the stuff that I've been working on the last couple of days, and the videos that will be coming out of those are taking what we've already recorded and some of the stuff that you haven't seen. And this brings up a good point as well that I'll get to in a sec, is the fact that those the videos, you haven't seen them all. So as you go through, you might go, a lot of the posts that we see are things like, why didn't you do this, or this is slow, and it's that way because we haven't shown you how to speed it up yet. So yeah, we don't have multi-threading, but there are some tricks that we put in to help speed things up. The multi-threading will help a lot of stuff, but once we put that in, you're going to have to know how to disable it, because if you're doing a lot of work in the editor, it's going to crash the editor on you a lot.
Yeah.
And it's going to make it hard for learning what you're doing. So what I've been trying to do with this system is set up in such a way that we're iteratively getting to the point where the systems are all in place and ready to go, so when we do discuss multi-threading, it'll be a matter of adding a line into the existing code and toggling between one of the two lines of whether or not you're going to be creating your train with threading or without threading.
Right.
In some of the next videos that I've been doing, and I haven't even shown you, I've shown you some of the stuff, but I haven't shown you all the stuff yet, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Where this next set of videos is, we're going to go back, and for everyone who's in the class and has already watched the terrain video, yes, I screwed up the implementation of adaptive iterations in the smoothing. So we're going to go back and fix that. I forgot, I coded it all up, but I forgot to put it into the for loop. so it doesn't get taken into consideration. I caught that, and then about 7 hours later, I got a PM about it, and then I got another PM a few hours after that. So people I know have found it. We
Well,
will be fixing that.
Lee, I thought you said you were just testing to see if anybody was actually paying attention in those videos.
Yeah, well, that's usually for you.
Yeah, that's
I know they're paying attention because I get comments about it all the time. So, but so we'll be fixing some of the things I missed. We'll be cleaning up some stuff, and we're going to be reworking a lot of the train generator class to get it and the train patch and the train demo class is ready for multi-threading. So it'll be a stepping point when we get into doing that. We'll get into the procedural, or not procedural queue, but the priority queue that I had constructed, because C# has a queue that's built in, and there's two of them. There's a generic, which is not thread safe, and there's one that is thread safe, but it's not generic. But they don't have a priority queue, and we'll go through and we'll set up a very basic 3-level priority queue, so you'll be able to schedule things in the queue as high, medium, or low priority, and then we'll tie that into a custom multi-threaded pooling system, because thread pool, while works in standard C#, there are features of it that I would like to have that do not work in the current mono deployment. It just breaks. So I've also implemented a custom thread pool that leverages the priority queue that we'll build. That'll allow you to set up any type of worker thread that you want and pass in that thread to be run and any arguments that it needs to have in order to run that thread. And then you can schedule those, and as new threads become available, those jobs will be able to be worked. The cool thing with that is we're going to use it for the train system, as well as probably most of the other things that come up and the R&D stuff. And then when we go through that, we'll give it off to Nelson. Nelson will do his magic to it as well, and it hopefully the foundation will persist over to some of the MMO stuff.
Well, hopefully Unity will get the bug that reared its head in 3.2 fixed, so that we can run it in the editor for extended periods of time. Now, it runs extremely stable in compiled standalone, but
now, are we on 3.3 or 3.2 right now?
No, we're on 3.3.
Okay, yeah. So in 3.2 it broke. In 3.3 it still broke.
Right.
I can't keep track of what version.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, but it was 3.2 it showed its head.
Yeah, and it only breaks inside of the editor. We've built out standalone, let it run for 30 plus hours. Happy as can be, no problems whatsoever. Created some 600,000 plus train patches. No big deal. I throw the same code inside the editor, fire it up, run, let it go. It explodes at about 300 train patches and says that too many root sets have been created and the garbage collector fails. So, and it's been documented in a thread over in Unity. Nobody, I still haven't checked that in a couple days, but at last check, nobody knows a workaround on it. So, but we will get to that. But I don't want to really get into that yet until we start messing around with some of the sculpting tools, and then probably the persistent stuff after that.
Yeah, the persistent stuff's really important to me. Sometime soon. So talk about that for a minute. When do you think we're going to get around to some of the sculpting stuff?
Well, right now, what I've been doing the last couple days is taking the R&D stuff that we did on your machine, that code, integrating it
with your code base,
stuff that I've got with my code base, and cleaning it up. So what I've got right now is the next step for videos that go from what we just finished to get them ready to get into the sculpting stuff. Now, some of the stuff that I added, this is the stuff I showed you yesterday, is I've gotten rid of all the magic numbers. I got tired of the magic numbers and us going back and
You
forth.
just
about
got tired
that.
of me giving you hell about them off video, but that's okay. I'll be quiet.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, shut up, Gaff.
You guys will notice I am an absolute sweetheart on the videos. I stay so quiet. For the most part.
It's off camera that he turns into his true form.
Yeah, so why are you using that? Which then turns into a 30-minute argument. I just don't have the energy to argue right now. So
It's mostly because I could type that 3 seconds and your solution would have taken at least 5. So.
Oh boy. So anyways, but yes, you did do something that made me happy.
Right. What I've done is I've added another feature to the demo framework, and it's called a config.cs class. It's a static class that's whole purpose in life is to handle a config ini file. So it's structured that just like a regular ini file where you can put areas inside of square brackets, and then you just give it a name, an equal sign in the value that you want to hold it. It also supports comments in the ini file, so you can comment out the stuff that you want with the pound sign, and then it will take all of those at runtime, import the ini file into your program, and it creates a dictionary that allows you to reference any value. So you can take what you brought in from the ini file, cast it into the form that you need it to be, a string, an integer, a float, whatever you need, and then you can use that inside of your program. So, for example, like the world texture map, when I need to load that, I just basically say, go to config.settings, and then inside the brackets, I just put in world texture. And it brings in it goes and finds whatever file name that I've used for the world texture and bring that up. This allows the both the programmer or an artist to go into the ini file and change it without having to dive into the code, recompile it, and then send it into Unity. So it'll give us some flexibility there.
So when do you want to record all that?
That will probably be as soon as the two of us get some sleep and can think.
Sweet. So maybe tomorrow night?
So, yeah, probably tomorrow night after a radio show we can start looking at that. Because there's, like I said, I want to clean up the train generator code, get it fully ready to handle the multi-threading, because there's stuff that we did in that particular class that relies on Unity Engine API calls, which are not supported in threading. So we can't use getPixel, and we can't use some of the mathf functions. So where the mathf functions break, we have to write our own.
Right.
And we're going to have to import the texture inside of an array and query the array as opposed to a texture 2D. When we do that, we lose the ability to wrap the texture. So when you sample, if you go outside the bounds of the array, it'll break. You don't have that problem with the getPixel. So we'll have to go ahead and write the functionality to deal with wrapping the texture around inside of the array. I've also switched up the array to be instead of just holding X and Y for each map, it now holds 4 layers. So the map texture comes in as a single texture, with the base map being the alpha channel of that texture, a low frequency noise channel being on the red channel, a medium frequency noise coming in on the green channel, and a high frequency noise coming in on the blue channel, all of the same texture. And I'll show you how that's all set up. So now you can send in a single texture with all the information that the terrain generator needs to build the entire world.
Cool. Now, Mr. Enrico asks, Lee, when you talk about multi-threading, how many threads are we actually talking about, approximately?
This is up to you. The system is designed to use 1 thread per core that you have in your machine, so it'll automatically size based off of that with a minimum thread. I believe I've got it set to spin off 2 threads, because I've found problems that if you've got a single core machine and it doesn't spin off a second thread, it won't spool. It'll just sit there. So what you'll end up with is the terrain patches will go with two threads minimum and then a monitoring thread. So 3 on the low end, all the way up to whatever processors you want. But the way the threading pool has been implemented, there's the availability to spin up as many threads as you want. So you can dial in a max number of threads and it'll go. That'll be more of a tailorable type thing, because not all machines are going to be able to handle, hundreds of threads. You don't want to do that. So I usually run it at about 8 threads, and it runs as fast as I've ever needed it to with just the terrain. As far as locking, that is an interesting problem in of itself. The priority queue does handle locking. The entire thread pool class uses weight handles to deal with its worker threads. So inside of all of that, there is scheduling. We have to use scheduling for stuff, but excuse me, your worker threads themselves, if you're going to be accessing shared memory, you're going to have to deal with locking inside of the worker threads on your own. I've not hard-coded that to restrict anything, and it's kind of hard to. I don't know what somebody might put into the worker thread. The way the system is set up, you build your own worker thread to do whatever you need it to do. This one system could be used for scheduling sound. It could be used for effects. It could be used for generating terrain patches. It could be used for scheduling AI. The system does not care. You make a worker thread, and the worker thread contains its functionality, and as far as the system's concerned, you tell it to do it, give it a priority, it'll put it at the next available slot in that priority. High priority will always override the medium and lows, vice versa all the way down. And the way the system is set up is, if you reschedule the same task twice, and it goes in and it looks at that worker thread's information, if it's already been scheduled at a lower priority, it auto promotes it to the higher priority. Or if it's already at a higher priority and you demote it, it leaves it at the higher priority. And that was by design, because I didn't want to explicitly demote something. And that was kind of how just the way it came about with how I designed the system I intentionally designed this for. So I'm trying to think. Yeah, we can pretty much get that stuff done, and then I need to clean up the sculpting stuff, so probably this weekend we can start looking at recording videos for some of the basic sculpting.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So it's either get that ready to go and record that, or start working on persistence. But I probably should clean up the brushes and get that stuff ready to go for video before I do the persistence.
Yeah, I agree. And that'd be some cool stuff to get in place. Then we move on to persistence. And then the plan right now, with some of our discussions after persistence, then it's going to we've got 2 big paths that we could travel.
I want to start with the little. Actually, there's a third one, but I want to start with another little teaser one.
Okay.
That's the one I started showing you yesterday, where I was showing you the Sky Dome.
Oh, that one, which is really cool, without a doubt.
Yeah. It's like it's kind of a little offshoot, and it'll get us away from the terrain. But I'd like to play around with that a little bit and see where I can get with that, and see if we can't get a simple day-night cycle going inside of a Sky Dome.
Yeah, that's not bad. A nice small break away from what you've been doing. But the 2 big things that we need to look at are going to be shaders for dealing with the terrain system, and the and populating the world with
geometry.
Geometry,
Foliage, grass.
exactly.
But
Rocks.
well, the
stones,
reason I
trees.
wanted to get into the Sky Dome one is because it will get us into shaders
Right.
at a much simpler level than if we were to go full bore into the terrain shader with multi-texturing and everything else.
Right, right.
And I still think, I don't know, you might have been muted when I made that comment yesterday when you guys were watching the Aeon 3 videos.
Mm-hmm.
I still think I can do the seasons.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I think I can. I want to play with it, but I think I could probably pull that off.
It looks so nice. I mean, it does look nice. Seeing snow start to melt away from the trees, the ground, and all, it's just really cool.
Yeah. So, but I figure if we go with the Sky Dome, that gives us a simpler introduction into shaders. And then from there, we can get into, I'm guessing probably before we get into the full-blown terrain shader, starting to look at getting some grass down on the terrain.
Okay.
So some sort of system to come up with that. I've got some ideas that I've been knocking around, but nothing that's concrete yet.
Cool. So, so there is just kind of a rundown on what's been going on recently as far as the world R&D goes. Nelson is unfortunately not with us, but Zach and Nelson sat down the other night and designed out the look for the project management system, which is something that's going to be very important to us in the MMO development, especially once we move from R&D over into actual development on the real MMO. And so they worked out a basic UI framework for the whole thing, and we Nelson's been coding that for the last couple of nights. I think he's got it mostly finished, so we should be recording those starting very soon. Nelson really wanted to go ahead and get a UI design in place now that he's gotten most of the framework complete in those ASP.NET videos, and that'll allow us to move forward a bit more rapidly. And once again, for those of you guys that are listening to this video, keep in mind the way that I'm having this thing designed is such that everybody will have their own account. So Gavin will actually, God help us all, have his own account in the PMS system. That's right, in the PMS system. And if he'd like, he can then create a login for his mother, and she could come in and help him on stuff. We are going to give each of you guys your own account where you can create users and have those users, participate in projects that you're working on. So, prototype, I hope she's not. I didn't see her in the beta testing, so we should be good. Anyways, sorry, he asked. I'm just answering. Zach just gave an interesting facial expression. That's all I can say there. But seriously though, I'm hoping that we get that moving on someplace that puts us at a usable state very soon. So there's an update on that. Now back from now what I've been doing recently is, well, a lot of you guys know my life has been nothing but turned upside down with so many different things that are going on, and let's not forget trying to run the business. And for those of you that are dealing with the video repeat problems, that is being looked into, and we are working with the Wowza server people.
Oh yeah, they got back to us, by the way.
Oh, I know they did. I know the other thing that they're wanting us to get set up so that they can do some testing now, because we're trying to get.
Stalled them.
Yeah, I saw that. We're trying to get that figured out, and then my time with Nelson, then my time with Lee, and with recording, and then with
keeping
Zach.
me from going behind his back and charging for everything on the site.
Zach and I have been doing a lot of discussion about backstory, lore, and I've had Zach start something new that I'm not going to have him read to you guys tonight, but based off of just a lot of the things we've discussed over the past year, I've had him do a write-up of playing the game from a
It's like a narrative document
Yeah.
for gameplay.
yeah.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
If you were to read a novelization of what it would be like to play through the first, I don't know, probably 30 minutes of the game, that's what I'm writing.
Exactly, and it's been very, very helpful because Zach gave me his first reading, and I was like, "That's not bad." Now let me see if I can imitate Gavin and pour some color on it for you. And then I poured.
No, see, you're adding suggestions in different ways that it could be cool, not just dipping it in various highlighting colors, basically with no reason. Really, I think just to make the text look
Gavin.
colorful. Because it's not like you give any suggestions when you do that, like Gav. You just kind of color the text and yeah.
I saw this. Isn't that cute, Gavin? Wolf Knightley said that was a great idea. Yeah, I really wanted to find some way to get like a storyboard of gameplay up and going, but something that was far more interesting and detailed than just a storyboard. And so this, if you let your imagination flow when you're reading it back, it paints a beautiful storyboard, and it quickly pointed out areas that wasn't that interesting, bottlenecks in the system that we're starting to think of as far as gameplay, as a new player just starting to play versus someone who's played, and then took a break for a while. Now they've come back, started a new character, and they want to jump in. It demonstrated quite a few things that we were able to quickly get fixed, if you want to look at it as being just broken. And not that it was really broken, it was just areas that I felt wasn't that exciting. And it's really starting to take shape, and I'll have Zach read that to you guys coming up in a class in the near future. I'm still not 100% happy, and there's some things Zach's not 100% happy with, but it's really getting there. But
some of it you got to write out and then read through a few times, and then you're just kind of like.
And you really have to sit there picturing yourself playing it as well. But it has been very helpful. But Zach does have something that he's put his creativity to for the last couple of weeks that has been met with suggestions from Gavin. And did NATO get involved with any of these? I think he did. In one of them. And then there was one particular thing that I really wanted Zach to write, and I shared it with him, and Zach said, "Oh, don't worry, I was planning that." So, of course, that one happens to be my favorite story of them all, just because, well, great minds think alike. I'll say that. Zach and I both wanted to have that story in there, and it's just absolutely awesome. But
well, the whole I've spent the better part of the morning putting little polishing touches here and there, so it's a little different than what you heard. Not much.
Okay.
But you'll notice little areas where the corners have been cleaned. But the whole thing does a nice gradient from nice and light to something very, very dark.
It is definitely dark, and I totally dig that. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and hit stop on this video. We're just over half an hour, and start up the next video, have Zach start reading through the text. Again, by doing it this way, it just makes it easier for those that come in, read the description of our videos, and they just want to start right on the one where Zach is reading text for some of the stuff, some of the backstory and all. So we just had a question about a 5-minute break. This is perfect. We'll go ahead and do a 5-minute break for anyone who wants to go get some coffee or well, whatever. Take a break. So that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot, everyone.